Sunrise. Thank you so much for sticking with us all the way through up until now, and the conversations rage on. And as promised, this morning we do have in our studios Honourable Emmanuel Kwasi Bedzrah. He's the Member of Parliament for Ho West, and he joins us this morning to have an interesting conversation. Honourable, hello, good morning to you.
Good morning, and good morning to our cherished listeners.
Hope you're doing well this morning.
I'm good, and yourself?
I'm doing all right.
We thank God.
The weather is
good.
Is good.
Yes, because God has blessed this nation.
Absolutely.
Giving us a president and executives that will run the affairs of this nation. And so you see the weather has even changed.
Honourable, who really is responsible for this changing weather?
It is the doing of the Lord, and it's marvelous on our sight that God will bless a nation. That's why the Bible says that when the righteous rule, the people rejoices. So the people are rejoicing. The weather is good. Everything is good in this country. And we are praying that the resetting agenda will take place.
Speaking of the resetting agenda, we are officially in the second quarter of the year 2025. How have you found things since the year started?
Well, Ghanaians are the best judge to know whether the current administration is doing well or not. But if you ask my opinion, coming from the inside, I think we've done very well, relatively well. All the parameters that we set for ourselves, that within 120 days, if not even yet 120 days, all the things that we want to do within 120 days has partially been fulfilled. And typically is taking away all the tasks that we promise, setting up a goal board, and so on and so forth. I mean, cutting down our administration, having a lean size of government, and also within 14 days we should have our ministers in place. Just name it. The president has been able to do that, and therefore it clearly shows that we are on the right track. And so the resetting agenda has started, and I hope and pray that we'll continue in this line.
For many people, they say the political landscape in our dear nation is not for the faint-hearted. You've got to have a lot of grit and a lot of passion for what you do to continuously be involved in our body politics. What would you say is it that keeps you going, that makes you want to still be involved or be involved in the affairs of this nation?
Well, I always tell people that if you are not called, don't even dare to go into it. It's just like a priesthood. If a priest is not called and they get themselves involved in the priesthood activities, you find out that you have charlatans and people who are not called into that priesthood activities. It's the same thing. If you are an accountant or a medical officer and you are not called into that profession, you will be doing mistakes, and people will find out later on that you are not at the right place or you are not called to do that. So it's a vocation. Call into that vocation. And so if you want to be a politician and you want to serve your people, you should be called. You should have this direction that you are called into that office. And for me, to continue, I derive my strength from the Lord, and I continue to depend on Him until He says that it's time for you to get out. You'll be there to do that which He has called you to do. So for me, it's a calling, and I'm there to serve the people until that calling is lifted. Once in a while, you know that, okay, all you are doing is over, move to another area of your life. You move on to that direction. But so far as it is a calling, you continue to do it. So I want to also plead with as many people who are into this business called politics. You should have the instinct that you are called into it and do it right.
Are there any moments where you would say the politics get so, let me use this word, and I'm using my quotes if you're watching me on Facebook, gets so ugly or gets so boisterous that you think, no, I'm going to take a step back for maybe peace of mind? Because you are no stranger to Parliament. Yeah. 5th Parliament, 6th Parliament, 7th Parliament, 8th Parliament, and now the 9th Parliament.
5 times.
5 times.
On a row.
In a row. What makes you, because there are times where, for those of us who are in this space, doing this work, you think, no.
Yeah, so I've mentioned that it's a calling, and that's the first part. The second part, you ask whether there are times where I want to take a backstage. Yeah, there are times where you think that you are doing too much. You are not getting the resources. You are not getting the result that you want, and therefore you should take a backstage. I remember in 2017, 2017, when I was the first person who wrote to the Speaker of Parliament that I was resigning from Parliament, and it was all over the news that I said I was going to leave Parliament. There, I thought that I overstayed, and that what I was doing in Parliament has come to an end. Little did I know that it was my own body language, because I was so exhausted. There were things that were not supposed to be done, and I'm the kind of person who wants this done properly. And so at the time that I was going through some emotional disturbances, because the way I want things to be done were not done at that time. And so I said, well, let me call it a quit and get into my private practice and do whatever I think I can. If it's money, I can make money from outside politics, so why don't I go? So I wrote to Speaker of Parliament, only for me to realize that I was listening to myself, not listening to God. And so my party prevailed. Whatever that was a problem was resolved, and I got back into my feet. So once in a while, there's no politician who will tell you that I do not come to that state in life, or not only politician, any professional, anybody in life, if you do not do an introspection of yourself and realize that, look, where I'm going, what I'm doing, I'm not doing it right, and let me take a backstage and reorganize myself, then you are not, unexamined life is not worth living. So you must examine what you are doing, whether you are right or not. Yes, indeed, I've come to that state in life before.
Now, before you yourself became a politician, who were the politicians that you looked up to?
A lot of them. Let me be honest and frank. There were a few people, especially before I became an MP, I used to like Nana Akumia a lot. When I see him...
Nana Akumia of the NPP, former STC boss.
Yeah, when I see him on the TV and he's arguing, and I say, oh, me too, when will I become a politician like that? Even though I was at the background doing my small politicking, I didn't know that I would come to the front line. And then you see the bag beans. I got bag beans, and those days, Duaja hosts, and those were the people that we're looking up to. You see them arguing on the floor, and because for me, I'm not the outspoken type. I'm a very reserved, very shy person. And so when I see them doing those and I'm boisterous, I say, when I talk, can I also do that? Until, like I said, the calling came and I decided to venture into it, and I noticed that, look, it's not for the faint-hearted, as you mentioned. It should also sometimes put on the bravery to be able to sail through the difficulties and nuances of politicking.
Is that what then we see on the floor of Parliament? Otherwise, maybe more reserved members of Parliament, when they turn on their microphones and they stand up, is that cloak of bravery you say one must wear to, go face to face, toe to toe with the other side? In Parliament, especially on the floor of the House, I remember recently when we had a breakfast prayer meeting with the Speaker of Parliament, he said something, even though he said it jokingly, it is the truth. He said, he was talking to the revered clergymen who were there, the Archbishops, Nicholas Duncan William, and the rest, and he told them, look, you see all these fine gentlemen who are Christians who are here today having breakfast meeting with you. Sometimes when they get to the floor of the House, you need to come and exercise, the spirit in them, because you see them as a different person altogether on the floor of the House. It is true that when you enter into the chamber, you represent the whole nation, the nationhood, and therefore there are things that you want done properly. Let me give a typical example. People know I'm very reserved. I'm not a type who will go, but I believe also in order. Right.
Because from where I come from, or what I believe in, God is the God of order. He's not a God of disorder or disunity. Typical example was last 2 weeks or last week when we're having an argument, we're having a debate on the floor of the House. And one of my colleagues, Honorable Anodompre, stood up And the rule of the House is that you must catch the eye of the speaker before you put on your mic. All of a sudden, my colleague put on his mic without catching the eye of the speaker. And so, preventing others, or preventing the voice of the speaker to be heard, and that became rowdy. The whole atmosphere in the chamber became, and others, I said, what is going on? So I went in and put the mic off. I went to him and I put the mic on so that we restore some sanity in the House. It's becoming unbecoming of members of Parliament. I've been in this House for almost 17 years now, 16, and this is my 17th year. Right. I've never seen such an attitude where a member of the House will just stand up, put on his mic without catching the eye of the speaker. I mean, that is disrespect to the whoever is on the seat.
Very interesting that you bring up that point. And I've been watching keenly the proceedings in the House of Parliament and how boisterous it gets sometimes, with microphones being turned on and being turned off. And I also noted when we were talking about the past politicians you used to look up to, you said those days, looking at politicians, their posture, the content. Would you say that we have strayed far from that type of quality
very, very,
in this present day?
Very far. I mean, I don't know whether it is the crop of new politicians that we have that is causing us. You don't go to the House and see Papa Usu Nkrumahs, the J.H. Mensahs, the Ajahos, Bagbeans, Asagas, and the rest throwing tantrum or throwing chairs at each other or putting microphone on. All they do is to debate. It's all about debating. Bring forth whatever it is what you want to say. Let people know what you are saying. And let us argue. Let us disagree with each other and come with a consensus. But now it's not like that. People will just stand up and do things that they are not supposed to do. They stand up and talk. You hear people, the voice of people at the back. People are singing, people are clapping. I mean, that is not parliamentary. And so we are straying away completely from what we used to know, what we cherish, and what has led some of us, to go into this honorable House. Now it's no longer honorable. It's becoming dishonorable.
Honorable Bedzrah, you say it's no longer honorable? That's
the House
scathing.
is no longer honorable because look at the things that we do there, as if we are from junior high school or senior high school. How can a whole chief whip of a group of the minority will stand up without catching the eye of the speaker and put on the mic? The same thing applies to the backbenchers. Our side, we will just stand unruly, we start clapping our hands. It is never done. It's unparliamentary. So for me, the House is degenerating into an dishonorable House.
So, Honorable, would you say then that given this information or given this particular opinion of yours from the 5th Parliament, 6th Parliament, 7th Parliament, 8th now to the 9th, things have declined. Conduct in the House has declined.
It has declined. In fact, it declined from the 7th Parliament, actually, when we had almost one-sided of the House, where we have the former Speaker, my very good friend and father, Right Honorable Michael Quay, when we have the majority then having more numbers than our side. Now, you quite remember that when the Speaker or the minority then, our side on the at the 7th Parliament, anytime our leadership stands up to say things, he will not even look at our side. You remember when we're even going to pass I think it's the COVID tax or something at that time. There were all kinds of things that happened at that time, to the extent that our chief whip, Honorable Muntaka Muhammad, stood on his feet. He did not put on the mic, but he stood on his feet, and the speaker did not recognize him. So the backbenchers our side started shouting. So he started from there. Then to the 8th Parliament, that's where we saw when we had the hang Parliament.
I mean, in fact, the 8th Parliament was birthed from a place of pure chaos.
Yeah. And then now we are in the 9th Parliament, and the micro minority will not allow the majority to do anything. Even when the rule says that, look, if you don't agree with them, just walk out. You remember we're doing a lot of walk out in the 7th Parliament.
That's right.
If we don't agree, we walk out.
So interestingly, let's bring in the 9th Parliament. During the vetting exercise of certain ministers, we saw what happened.
Yeah.
And for regular Ghanaians, we were alarmed with the conduct of certain MPs, which we saw televised live on television. There was no agreement, but as you say, what would be the usual practice of walking out didn't happen. Instead, we saw on our screens equipment being disconnected, some orders being made for, tables to be turned over, and so on and so forth. Subsequently, a committee was constituted with yourself as the chairman to at least get some answers as to what exactly happened and what sanctions should have been put in place. As of today, Ghanaians are still asking, what is the status of that particular committee? And are we ever going to see a resolution to what we saw, unfortunately, by honourable members of Parliament?
Well, I don't want you to put me on the spot, but you have put me on the spot. Yes, the report is ready. We're going to take it on last Friday. And you remember last Friday, the Speaker was not there because it was the Speaker himself who gave us the instruction. He agreed that we should take it on Friday. But because we do not rise on Friday, we have to extend sitting to Saturday. That's why we do not. The report is ready. Everything is ready, accepted by the Speaker. All we have to do is too late. And so I can assure you, that in the first week, as soon as we resume, the report will be laid and it will be taken. Because
I'm sure you've heard comments from the everyday Ghanaian that suggest that committees are set up in Parliament and we don't seem to get resolutions.
Not my committee. Not my committee. And to come up.
How severe are the sanctions that are in this report? What we saw was alarming.
Have you seen the report?
I haven't seen the report.
Yeah, so don't preempt the report.
That's why I'm asking, what kind of severe sanctions should we expect to see?
If you look at our standing orders and that of the Constitution and then also the Parliamentary Act, there are sanctions in those acts. I mean, to the extent that a member can be completely expelled from the House, a member can be suspended, and so there are degrees of punishment and sanctions, and so we'll apply all this according to the role each other the members play in these disturbances. We've looked at the video. You have seen the video yourself, and I'm sure you are not happy. We're all not happy. I have to apologize completely to Ghanaians for what has happened, because that is not Parliament that we know. That was not the Ghanaian Parliament being Parliament that people watch, that we know. I'm a member of ECOWAS Parliament. Sometimes we get to our brothers in the sub-region and they laugh at us that it has been turned into Bukom, boxing arena where we are
our fighting. Neighbors are watching.
Oh yeah. I mean, so sometimes I feel very sad when I go out and they make comment about Ghanaian Parliament like that. In any case, we have the various sanctions in the report. It is not cut across. I mean, we vary it according to your degree of involvement.
How many MPs will be found wanting once this report is made public?
As soon as the report comes out, you will see it.
We saw the likes of, for example...
Don't mention any name.
I'm just speaking to what I saw on the day. For example, the Honourable Arnaud Dompré, I saw him on the video, on the footage, quite boisterous in his interaction with other MPs. I also saw Honourable Jerry Ahmed Shaib. He was also
So will it be wrong if the report comes out to say that, these people are found, wanting, they found guilty and therefore the sanctions to be applied to them? Will you be surprised?
So, for example, Honourable Arnaud Dompré, we shouldn't be surprised if we see some sanctions applied to him as well as Honourable...
Will you be surprised? You will not be surprised at all. Will you?
To find them,
yes.
Should I be surprised to see them in there? I'm asking.
In the report.
In the report.
Yes. Will you be surprised? Because you've already told Ghanaians, I mean, from your listeners, that you saw them, and so if the report says that yes, indeed, they found, and the sanctions should apply to them, you should not be surprised.
I recall at the time there wasn't too much collaboration with the other side. They didn't appear. Maybe one or so.
And so the best thing for you to do as a member of the House, as a group, was to walk out. That's the dignified thing for you to do as a group. You don't disrupt, you don't distract, you don't destroy. I mean, it was way and above what people know as parliamentary procedures. Why? One, you must know it's criminal for me to come to this studio and start destroying properties. So
criminal sanctions could apply?
You heard the speaker has referred it to the criminal investigation department of the police. So ours is just for parliamentary. And you heard the speaker say that it's better to do self-regulation, self-purging, than anybody from outside, coming to regulate or purge us. And so that is what we are doing. We are doing our self-regulation and self-purging. And so this sanction or whatever that may come out of the report is as a result of self-regulation and self-purging.
Right.
From the outside one, which is the criminal one, nobody can stop it. And the speaker has referred.
Do the committee have to work with the investigative bodies?
We have finished our, in fact, to the extent that I have to bring in the committee, I agree, and we brought in an expert from the those who find out whether the video was dotted or not. We brought an expert from there and he, gave the videos that were dotted and those that were not dotted, that the ones that we can rely on, we look at that. So whatever we do, whether members from one particular group or not came in or not, you saw the video, people saw the video, Ghanaians saw the video, and Ghanaians will be the best judge when the report comes out.
Certainly. So it sounds as though a lot of work went into it, digital forensics and all of that.
Exactly.
My final question on that, and then we can move on, is what does the least sanction look like? What does the most severe sanction look like?
Just wait for the report to come out. The report will be out soon. I mean, we are resuming in the next 3 weeks. So when we come back, the report will be out. I saw people being anxious. They start calling all kinds of names. People are trying as much as possible to get the messenger being, castigated. And instead of looking at the message, I just will not get into that fray with them at all. The message will come out. They should not touch the messenger at all. Whether the messenger is Bosro, the messenger went to put the microphone off, the messenger said I'll beat somebody or not. It is the message you are looking for, what is in the report, and that's all we'll be looking up to.
Now, Honourable, we also know that you are the chairperson of Parliament's Committee on Energy, and these committees were recently constituted. So. How old are these committees?
Well, this is the 9th Parliament, and the 9th Parliament has committees.
Right.
Now, this committee was, we were ushering into this committee just about a month or two ago. About a month ago. So it's a new committee. It's an old committee, but we are new members.
Okay, old committee as per the ones that are always in place, but with new members.
It's been there for years. I mean, from the beginning of the 1992 or the 4th Republican Parliament. But this is the new members of that. It used to be mines and energy. And then the new standing orders have now separated mines from the energy, and now we have Committee on Energy. Now, Committee on Energy has jurisdiction over power and petroleum. So, the Ministry of Energy and Green Transition is our sole ministry, and we have agencies, close to about 19 agencies under that ministry. We have the power sector and we have the petroleum sector, both the upstream and the downstream.
Now, given the numbers that we have in Parliament at the moment, 183 to the NDC, 88 to the NPP, 4 independent candidates, how are these committees set up? What are the numbers looking like?
Well, if you look at my committee, for instance, we are 19 number. NDC has 13 members and MPP has 6.
Okay, 13 members.
Yeah,
and
from
then
the NDC side, that's including the independent candidates.
Okay.
And then 6 from the NPP side.
But do those numbers and
So it's
that
like
breakdown
210.
differs? Does that differ from committee to committee?
Well, we have some committees that are 17, some 11, some 22. I think the maximum so far is about 23. Yeah.
Would you say that you've hit the ground running as far as work in the committee is concerned?
Yes, we have. Our first priority was to get a budget passed, which we did. Now the next leg is to have what we call a workshop. I need my members to understand the various, what the various department agencies do. And so from next month, in fact, we schedule from the 9th to 12th, we'll have a workshop with all the agency department and the ministries. And after that, we'll start visiting the various agencies to see what they do there. It's quite a broad industry, especially the petroleum industry. We have GMPC working under us. You have for the petroleum sector, you have GMPC, you have TOR, you have MPA, you have Petroleum Hub, you have a Petroleum Commission, you have Tema Oil Refinery, you have GOIL, we have BOST, and that's for the petroleum sector.
Right.
Ghana Gas, Ghana Cylinder Company, Ghana Gas, Ghana Cylinder Company, and then that's for the petroleum sector. Then you have the power sector. You have VRA, you have NEDCO, you have GRIDCO, you have ECG. What have you? Public PURC, Public Utility Regulatory Commission. You have Energy Commission. No, Energy Commission.
Right.
And what again? There was close to about 16, 17 agencies.
Certainly a very busy committee, and made even busier because within 2 weeks of having been set up, you have a scandal, if you will, to contend with.
Yeah.
And I'm referring to the ECG container scandal. The issues are still unfolding. We're hearing from different stakeholders on what exactly is going on. The Energy Minister brought some of the issues to light initially, having taken over the role, reconciling issues, and the container issue came up. For the uninitiated, for those who are trying to find their way through this particular issue, can you provide an overview of this particular situation?
Yeah. Well, the issue is so simple. We don't need to complicate it at all. ECG is a state-owned enterprise, which is owned by all of us. But we asked the president to be in charge. And the president has also set up what we call the board of directors, who are representing the president on that state enterprise. And so they provide electricity, or they distribute electricity. The providers of electricity are VRA, and then the distributors from production, GRIDCO will now move it to ECG, and ECG will market it or sell it to us.
Right.
So the end product that we use as electricity or power are marketed by ECG, Electricity Corporation of Ghana, or Electricity Company of Ghana. And so it is a solely owned government entity. It has no private entity. You remember some time ago, we have PDS, where the World Bank decided that, or Millennium Challenge account said that, okay, we should have some injection of private sector into it. And so we brought in PDS to support it so that we can have efficiency in running that organization. Unfortunately, that scandal also fizzled out. Now, ECG as an institution or state-owned enterprise has its board that gives directives, general directives for a day-to-day management of the corporation or company by the management. Now, one of the functions, one of the things that is done there is procurement. You purchase items, you purchase cable, you purchase transformers, you purchase meters, you purchase items that you use in the discharge of your duty. You know, it's ECG that brings meters here. It's ECG that will come and lay cables for you to have your internal light and so on and so forth. And so those things are procured. Now, we do not manufacture a lot of them. Meters are not manufactured in Ghana, and so ECG must import them. We don't manufacture transformers. And so if the board of directors give directives to ECG, that ECG have these things here because Ghanaians need meters. People are building more homes, and so let's have meters for every home. People are doing illegal connection. Make sure that you don't give flat rate, but provide meters to those homes or provide meters to those establishments. ECG will take it up as a board and then pitches those, items that are needed. I'm just using a meter as an example because meter are the things that people see and then they understand. Unfortunately, ECG procure items from the report that I read, the report that was presented to the minister. They procure items that will last us for the next 30 years. Forgetting about the fact that some of those items will have, expiring date.
Before that time elapses.
Yes. Let me give you a typical example. We have technology now. Meter that we used to have in those days that people will come and read. Now we have smart meters. Who knows that next year another meter will come that will be more smarter than the ones that we purchase. So ECG decided that we're going to buy meters or buy products, equipment and things that we need for the next 30 days. That is their own cup of tea. But the question we will all ask as citizens, because ECG belongs to us. It doesn't belong to any individual person. If you are there as a managing director or a chairperson of the board, you are there on our behalf.
That's right.
And so it is for us. We pay taxes, we pay street lights, which ECG collects. Now, if you are going to do that, won't it in the best interest of this nation? If you are going to purchase items that will last the next 30 years, won't it be in the best interest of our nation? What will be the best interest of the two of us is the fact that we should have funds, we should have money before we order the things.
That's right.
You don't order things and you don't have money to go and then, to go and leave the items, there. That's one. The second aspect of it is that if you have an institution like ECG that has a clearing house, a clearing unit, you purchase the item from outside, and ECG has its own in-house clearing unit. You ignore that clearing unit, and then you go as far as getting another private company to clear those things. Then it means that you are not doing it in the best interest of us, all of us, and the company, because we have people who are being paid as workers of ECG who are supposed to be doing clearing. But you decided to go beyond that and then contract people. Third one, the procurement process. There's an act, there's a law in this country that says that before you purchase certain items, you must go through a process. Do you go through those processes? The report says no. They were not given the go-ahead to act because they claim that ECG is no longer under government subvention and that ECG is on its own. It's a company registered by law as a private entity. And therefore, as a private entity, I don't need to go through, they've forgotten that ECG is owned by the state. That's why they're under SIGA, State Interest Governance, Administration. And so you cannot do things on your own. I mean, there are a lot of things that was done by ECG that I pray and believe that the minister has taken a good step, and that the good people of this nation will wait for the investigation to be through with the CID, with the national security, and then the truth will come out. I have called for a non-partisan investigation.
A non-partisan investigation.
Because people are beginning to make it to look as if we are, or the minister is going after some political, parties or political persons. No. If the thing is wrong, it's wrong. Whether you belong to a party A or party B, since you have done the wrong thing, just as I enumerated, if a law says that you have to go to a procurement law or procurement authority to give concurrent approval for you to go and do so and you do not do it, you've gone wrong against our own law.
Now, Honorable, hold that thought for me. Another member of Parliament who certainly agrees with that assertion that this should be a non-partisan investigation is Honorable Appiah Ampofo. He's the minority leader. Let's take a quick listen to what he said on the floor of Parliament. We'll come back and chat some more.
Problem that I will any day support this minister to embark on reforms. It is true that when these containers come, there is some connivance with some customs officials, and they sell these containers, these cables that ECG needs after the supplier has been paid. They sell the container and then people resell back to ECG. Are we pretending we don't know? Instead of us to pay attention and kill the rots, then we come here, then MPP, NDC, issue at stake. It's scandalous. It's serious. It's not MPP, NDC matter. All these public institutions, and sometimes some of the appointees of the previous government, you see them even saying that they are professionals. They were not MPP. Now they come here and then they are dining with you. You're also happy. When you lose power, they turn around and they do this and that and that. And then they are hitting our heads and we are here. Tackle the issues. $700 million is not cheap money. Go to ECG. Those companies are chasing ECG, and now because the minister is enforcing the cash waterfall, they say they get only 40 million cedis, and the 40 million cedis is not even enough to pay salary. Those officers at ECG, those directors, they are the ones who should hold them to account and stop this political football. Minister, I do not think an answer to the problem is a political inquiry. Hold the bull by the horn. And I, Kwamina, will support you because I've been there. In fact, I've seen a lot of the rot in our public service system. I've seen a lot of the rot in the SOEs, but they take advantage of us as politicians. The managing director of ECG, the director of procurement, must be seen to be telling us why, as a director of procurement, he will issue a contract, and then the contract is that deliver at the port, bring bill of lading, and ask for payment without even having access to it. And then a minister is to take a blame. A minister must not take a blame on this matter.
3FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
And you were just listening there to the voice of Honorable Appiah Ampofo. He's the minority leader. He was speaking on the floor of Parliament. He says it is scandalous, it is serious, it is not an NPP or an NDC matter. Honorable, and you agree with that assertion? I
totally agree with him that it's not an NDC or MPP matter. Whoever is found culpable should be made to face the full rigors of the law. And so I agree with him.
It sounds as though from the overview that you've given us, and thank you for that, setting it out very clearly, that this shouldn't be an issue that should take too much time to figure out, from issues of procurement to the issues of clearing to it seems as though if we follow the trail, then certainly there shouldn't be any reason why we cannot hold those who are responsible for this issue. Okay,
so why I'm beginning to feel that the issue is dragging has to do with goal setting. I started by saying that you have a board of directors who give strategic direction to the company, and the managing director is to go to manage or to have what we call day-to-day administration or management of the company. Now, what is the strategic direction of the board of directors? Who was then, if you look at the Facebook post that I posted, I asked who was then the chairman of the board? Did the chairman of the board give instruction, or has the board agree that in 2023 we should purchase so much, equipment, apparatus, or meters and so on and so forth? If the board gave that direction, now you ask, is it in the best interest of the nation? Do we need, like he says, over $700 million worth of equipment? If we don't need it, then who should be held accountable? When we come to the low-hanging fruit, the down there, where the procurement officer and whoever is found culpable will be charged, but the bus stop with whoever give that strategic direction. Unless there was no strategic direction and people are doing things anyhow at ECG. But if you have a board of directors and the board is up and doing and know exactly that we need just 20 containers worth of equipment or whatever we need, then the board, the management goes beyond the board. Then the board will sanction the management for going against their strategic direction. Has that been done? And so people should not be pushing blame on others.
Is that what you are seeing so far from where you sit?
That's what I'm saying. And that is why we need to do further investigation to be sure that the board did not give directives. If there are no trail that the board, at the board meeting, we don't need, the board will say, okay, yes, let's do some purchases, but we don't need so much. You have given specific directives to the management. And the management will say, okay, procurement officer or director of estate and procurement, go ahead and purchase these things for us. And then he also goes ahead with the procurement law and say, okay, I'm opening it up. Let's have, competitive tendering so that we can have, value for money through the tendering process. And if that is not done, then all those people who are in the chain will not be held accountable. But if it's not done and people decide to do things anyhow, then the head, whoever was the chairman of the board, should be held accountable, because you were put there by us, by the president on our behalf, to supervise and to make sure that things are done properly. Otherwise, then we don't need a board at all.
Now, Honorable, quite interestingly, this trend of a lack of competitive tendering seems to cut across not just this particular, shall I say, institution or sector, and that is becoming increasingly worrying. Yeah. Now, speaking about strategic direction and speaking about management, I have a few clips to play, and this is coming from Mr. Samuel Dubik Mahama, former managing director, and he has some opinions on how the issue has traveled so far. If we have that ready, we'll play that, and then we can put that into context, come back and continue the conversation.
I want to say I believe strongly the containers are at the port.
The containers are at the port.
And they are within the control of, because before I finish that statement, there are only two entities that have control of those containers. Let's bear in mind that the minister went into the port, a restricted area. Containers have a formula as to how they leave the port. This conversation would have been different if we were saying that the containers were in the custody of ECG and got lost. But that is not the conversation. The conversation is that those containers are at the port. So they are in the custody of GPHA and Ghana Customs. So it begs the question as to, yes, ECG hasn't paid its duties. Fine.
Yes.
So why auction a container belonging to ECG without knowledge to ECG? Because in my candid opinion, that's the only way a container can leave the port. Do you know a container is not like a piece of paper that you fold and throw away.
True.
For international supply chain logistics, a container has a unique number. Now, let me draw you to the committee's work, because that is where I want us to draw inference from. The committee said 1,346 containers are missing. How are they missing? There are processes at the port. Let's go through those processes. Have we spoken to the shipping lines? Have we visited the other terminals? Have we gone through the right channel? Because listen, the last I know, before I left, were that containers were auctioned. We did write to GRA to complain about those containers being auctioned.
Containers were auctioned with the content of the containers
Yes.
as well.
Yes.
ECG containers.
Yes.
Were auctioned by who?
It would be by the GRA, because when it goes to an unclaimed sector of the port, it's still within the jurisdiction of the Ghana Revenue Authority, the Customs Division.
Okay. So why did they auction those containers?
They would say it's within their purview. They might say the container has overstayed, the container hasn't come, the owner hasn't come for it. So the question is, if ECG has failed to clear the containers, is that a good reason to auction the container with no recourse to ECG?
Did you write to the GRA?
There are letters flying. When I was in office, I know I wrote.
And what did the GRA say?
I don't have a reply from that. I have checked my documentation. There's no reply from that I can speak to. Containers keeping at that long at the port. There are two issues. There was one investigation being carried out by, what do you call it, Yoko, on a group of some containers called the LNR contract. That preceded me before I came into the seat. Again, PDS had staff at the port, also in containers. That was a bone of contention at an arbitration. You have to stay your hand on those things. The moment you touch them, you are liable. The person can...
How many? How many containers?
I don't want to speculate numbers because I do not have the number sheet with me. And again, I left office in September. I remember writing letters to that effect. Yes, I do. I don't want us... Look, Mr. Kansi, let's address this issue for what it's worth. If the containers had come out of the port and they were within the jurisdiction of ECG, yes, ECG is liable for it to get lost. But a container cannot get missing. A container can only get misplaced or lost at sea. So there are laid down processes in every port worldwide. All I'm trying to say to you is that we need to have a diligent search, and everybody needs to assist in this.
A diligent search, former managing director of ECG says. He says everybody has to get involved. When I situate what I've just listened to that overview that you gave, there are some elements missing. Former managing director says, have you checked the shipping lines? Have the terminals been checked? How can these containers be declared missing? It's not like a piece of paper that can be put into a pocket. How do you situate what you've just heard?
It is true that containers
conversation?
cannot just get missing like a piece of paper, but the containers are missing. I mean, the minister has set up a committee that initially gave a report that those containers were not there. And some were found in some private homes. You heard the former MD saying that some containers were auctioned by GRA. You heard him.
I did.
Now, in the same vein, I heard him saying that the containers are at the port. So I got confused whether the containers were auctioned and still at the port. And so, which one is what?
Now, sticking with that just very quickly, under what circumstances then will containers be auctioned? When does that happen?
When GRA writes to you that your container has overstayed, there are time period where you'll be paying what we call demurrage.
That's right.
Now, if the demurrage period has gone and they've written to you several times to come and take your goods out and you're not taking it, they'll write to you that they want to do what we call auction sales, and that auction sales will be carried out. So, first of all, we ECG consumers or owners of ECG should hold whoever was there, responsible. In the first place, you ordered for containers for your project. Why didn't you go and clear them? If you do not have money, why did you order them in the first place? If you know, it's like your own home. If you don't have money, all you do is go and borrow and purchase the items that you need for your home. If you know that you are not credit worthy and that nobody will borrow you money, you don't order the thing at all. You stay within your own means. What on earth were they doing there when they ordered 1,376 containers, 74 containers, for the containers to be left there without paying. He said, oh, there was no funds for them to clear it.
That's right.
What were they thinking? Is that good management practice? Are you a good manager? And today, we are walking around freely, and you are not caught. If we were to be North Korea by now, they would have hanged you. Or China.
Who are you referring to?
I'm saying that our security agencies, those that the National Investigation Bureau, the CID, and those that the minister has referred, I think, should speed up the case quickly. Because I cannot afford. I mean, sometimes when I see things like this, I get angry that our taxpayers' money, the sweat of us, after paying all this money, paying them huge sums of salaries, and then this will be going on, and people will be walking freely. I wrote to ECG, I wrote to GRA several times, and nothing was done. And as a managing director, anyway, I don't want to prejudge.
Well, Honorable, the committee that you chair, the Energy Committee, when were you notified about this developing
That was
story?
last week when the minister came to the committee to present their budget to us, and we started asking questions that we had news, and then he informed us. But we said, well, but then the report has not been delivered. That's the investigation report. He said he has commissioned some people to look into it. And so we said, when the report is brought to you, we want to engage you further on this. And so we'll be engaging them. It's part of our program that we'll be engaging the minister to give us a full briefing of the thing. And then the step he has taken to recover all the state assets that have been lost.
We were again just listening to Mr. Dubik Mahama, and he had a lot to say about whether or not the right quarters had been explored, the shipping line, the terminal. Does he have a case when he says that, well, the containers are not missing, some extra work has to be done? It's not a case of just going there and counting, okay, these don't appear to be here on the face of it, that means they are missing. Would you say that he's played his part?
Every coin has two sides. It depends on the side that you are looking at. If I'm looking at the side of a coin, this is my interpretation of that side. His side that is his interpretation. The best thing for us to do is for the investigation body to investigate and tell us the truth, whether his side is the right side, or what Ghanaians are saying, or what the minister has said is the right side. Because I believe that if the former board chairman, the minority leader, will also ask that full investigation should be conducted into this activity, then it means that something definitely has gone wrong.
What proportion of responsibility, if we were to do this percentage-wise, would you place on a former board chair? Would you place on a former managing director? Because this falls squarely in their lap. What proportion of blame should be put at the doorstep or the doorsteps of these individuals?
Every institution has a law that, an act that guides or regulates the institution. ECG has an act that regulates it. And so the ECG Act will tell us where the blame will be put. If it is directly on the doorsteps of the management, it will be stated. If it's on at the doorstep of the board, that will also be stated. And so I have not cited the ECG Act yet. I'll look at it and then I'll give a feedback. Who should be blamed?
But on the face of it, given the context that you gave us, the overview,
all of
these
them
are the key.
Blame.
All of them. So
I'll not put weight on any of them. They should all look. For me, the first thing is that there should be a strategic direction, a policy. Now, if the board, then why do you go for board meeting? If you cannot give strategic direction to your institution, then why are you there? If the institutions, if my strategy or the board strategic direction is that, oh, we need 1,300 containers of meters or cable or transformers. This is the numbers that we need. Do we have money? Or if you don't have money, can we look for letters of credit to be able to support it so that we will not have situation? Because from Mr. Dubik Malik, he said, oh, PDS, this is started, predates him. Some of the containers were there before he came. So he must learn a lesson from that. Has he learned that lesson? Then you inform the board that yes, indeed we have situations before I came in. I don't want to, if you are patriotic, nation, you think about a nation, I don't want to go there. I don't want to prejudge people.
Because, the reason why I'm asking, if you listen to Honourable Afenyo Marking on the floor of Parliament, and he certainly sounded concerned about what is going on, but he would have been in a strategic position then to carry out some of these activities. That's why I'm asking, given the overview.
You have already summed it up. All that I'm saying, you sum it up.
I'm going off your context, off your overview, and you set it out clearly for us. You talked about procurement, who should be in charge of that, strategic direction. So I look to those who have these portfolios and how that ties in with what they should be doing.
Where does it start from? From strategic direction. Okay, normally we are quick to hang the person down there that you are the culprit. It's like people steal millions and they are given 2 months, and somebody steal gold and is given about 10 years in jail. Now, if my duty as a board or the board of directors is to set a goal for an organization, and then the management are to sign a performance contract with the board of directors.
Right.
And that those contracts or performance contract, then you have various departments also signing what we call KPI, key performance indicators, with the management.
Right.
Are you getting it? You see the trend? I'm to set a goal, strategic goal. Then the management will also sign what we call performance contract with management. And then the various units will also sign KPI, key performance indicators with management. Now, if I do not set a goal for you, for it to flow down there, then first of all, I should be held responsible for not setting a goal for you, and that people were doing things anyhow. But if I set a goal for you, and your performance indicator shows that you do not perform according to the goal that we have set, and which you sign as your performance contract, then you should be held accountable. I've set a goal for you, but you did not manage it well, and therefore I should fire you as a board. But if those goals have not been set, and the managing director or management decide to do things on their own because there was no goal, then all of you should be held responsible.
What is the next line of action? You mentioned, and we've had also the minister talk about some more investigations that will be taking place. But from a committee level, what should we expect from yourself?
We cannot reinvent the wheel. The minister has already set the ball rolling by asking the various institutions to. We cannot call for, if the minister has not done anything at all, that is where we will come in to set up bipartisan inquiry into this. But because the minister has set it, and it's more of criminal nature, and he has already given us a report, ours is for him to come and update the committee and update Ghanaians about what has happened and what is happening in the next step.
Absolutely. We've seen some arrests as well of some other nationals.
By now, we had some arrests made, and I was so happy if the report is true that 1 trillion cedis was supposed to be a bail for Chinese, some nationals, and I said, well, we are resetting this nation again.
You say it's a step in the right direction.
A step in the right direction. Otherwise, why? If things have been stolen and you bought a stolen item, you should be held accountable.
Well, I'll read out this post to you finally, and we'll move on from this conversation and wrap up. I know that you have to leave us shortly. Now, this is on the social media of Kwame Asare, or being Honourable, popularly known as A+, and he is the Member of Parliament for Gomwa Central. He says this, and it's on our screens. If you're watching us on Facebook, you can follow along as well. He says, a few days ago, a truck carrying cables broke down in Gomwa Awombru, a town in my constituency, prompting residents to suspect that the cargo might be part of the missing ECG goods. Acting on their suspicion, they promptly reported the matter to the Sredu Divisional Police Command, which dispatched officers alongside ECG officials to inspect the cargo. During the inspection, the driver was unable to provide credible information about the source and destination of the goods. And according to the police, the way bill appeared suspicious. After a thorough examination, ECG officials confirmed that the cables closely matched their missing items. As a result, the driver, his assistant, and all individuals involved have been taken into police custody pending further investigation. Additionally, the police have invited national security to assist in the investigation.
This is a good, he's not only a member of parliament, but he's a citizen. And this is what we should all be doing. It should not be left to only members of parliament to do that. Every citizen is supposed to be alert. And just as one president said before, be citizens and not spectators. Let us all be citizens. Let's bring things of this nature up for us to see. And I'm happy my colleague has done this. I mean, it shows that, yes, indeed, he's a patriotic citizen of this nation.
All right, let's talk about energy issues. Is that high up on the agenda of the Energy Committee? It
is, because of the power outages that is around. I've spoken to the ECG themselves to find out what is going on, so that I can have an idea as to what is going on. We believe that Ghana should have enough energy and also export some, which was the agenda before we left power, before the previous NDC left power. You know, there was this issue of excess power in the system, where some people were charged for purchasing a Mary plant and so on and so forth. We will not visit that. Now we want to have what we want to transit from what we call the fossil fuel, using either thermal plant into what we call the green energy,
right?
Where renewable energy, like the solar kind of things, and that's where we are going. And our vision, the vision of the current administration and that of the current government, is to have enough power through the transition or the green energy for us to be able to give and sell, export power to other neighboring countries. And that's what we are working on now. So it's high on our agenda.
Right.
We will be visiting some of the... We has already done some installation of solar power on the river. The committee will be visiting there to see what has been done. It's not been commissioned yet, and so we'll be visiting there. There are other...
How soon can we expect them to come on stream?
Well, from what we were told at the committee meeting, I think the minister is ready for commissioning. In fact, if you look at the report we have, it's ready for commissioning, waiting for the minister to commission it, and then they can roll it onto our national grid. That will help, solve some. And then there are more to be done. I hear they'll be going to the northern part of the country to install more solar system, so that we can have more solar power. That's one. And that will also help us. The problem we have now has to do with payment for our crude oil, that propel our thermal engines. You all know the story that the ECG is owing a lot of people, owing both the distributors as well as the VRA. The cash flow for the system was not working well. They collected money, you heard, and so there are leakages, that we need to. If we have this kind of rot going on there, why wouldn't there be leakages in ECG? And so it's high on our agenda. In fact, for me, I'm looking up to the power sector than the petroleum sector, because the power sector, is everything for us. If every village, because we currently have about 89% coverage in the country. If
right.
we're moving into 90%, as we all stated, we said we want to move it to 90%. So it means that almost every hamlet, villages in this country should have electricity. Now, if you're moving in there, you don't have power to supply, you don't have, meters to collect, the revenue that is needed, then we are not doing anything. And so it's high on our agenda as a committee. And so our first meeting, actually, I've told my clerk and committee members that we should start with the power sector. I want the power sector. I want to have a comprehensive report on the power sector and where we are going, whether we are following through the current administration's agenda for the power sector, or they are doing something else. If they are not doing it, it is the duty of the committee to call them to book.
And the hope for all Ghanaians is that you take us along on this journey, because, I mean, electricity is the blood that runs through the veins of this economy.
Those who know me, that any committee that I run, I go with the media. I want the media to let the Ghanaians, the people of this country, know what we are doing. And so the media will be following me through. They'll go with us everywhere we go.
What is going to be that magic or magic wand that can alleviate some of what we're experiencing, the power outages, issues about green energy? A lot of us are looking forward to, but we know it takes time and a lot of investment to actually get that up and running. Whilst we wait for that future of renewable energy, what do we do? The lights are still going off, businesses are still being impacted.
Those are just transmission problem. They are not issues that we said in the past where you said there's no fuel, therefore we cannot propel our engines, the thermal engines. And so these are, issues of maintenance that are coming on, from what I heard. I mean,
so we don't have fuel issues. It's not a fuel issue. We have enough to cater?
We have enough to cater. In fact, the minister has made arrangement for enough fuel to cater. So you don't hear that there's a whole blackout for 2 days, 3 days. No, other there's a problem, a tree has fallen on a cable, and a transformer has bent somewhere. Those are the maintenance issues that they are working on. That these are the costs, because we are in a rainy season, and so these are the costs of some of the power outages. Otherwise, they would have even told us that there's going to be a blackout completely, there will be power outages, and therefore we have load shedding program. But because it is just a maintenance issue, from what I've been told so far.
Should there be load shedding issues? Should we look out for a timetable?
I don't think so. From what I've been briefed, I don't think there's any.
You say it won't come to that?
I don't think so. If you come to that too, they should be able to tell us. In fact, I'll be the first person to call them, to tell the Ghanaians. I mean, not a former minister who will say that, go and prepare your own.
You prepared for us?
We'll make sure they prepare it. I will make sure the companies that are responsible prepare it. Apart from that, finally, Ghana is looking up to what we call nuclear energy. I've seen the report. I mean, from the report that were given to us, Ghana is preparing for nuclear energy. And nuclear energy, if you have a nuclear energy, that will give us more power, which we can even sell. So we are not only looking up to solar panel, we are looking up to nuclear energy, which will take, start constructing the site. They've given the site they've gone to see the site. Government has procured the site. The procurement process of getting those who install it are in the process. And therefore, very soon we hear that we'll start a nuclear plant in Ghana. And
my final question, are we privatizing ECG? That conversation has reared its head time without number, and quite recently as well.
From the minister's report, it's in the offing, but it's not yet clear as to how it will be done.
You survived the 5th Parliament, the 6th Parliament, the 7th Parliament, even the energy of the 8th Parliament. The 9th Parliament is here. Will we be seeing you in the 10th Parliament? Have you seen enough?
It's too early in the day. I was just talking to somebody this morning that I've seen enough. I mean, I was very young when I came. I'm still young. I'm not too old. I was very young when my constituents, decided that a young man should take them on board. And so when my predecessor decided that he was not going to run again, the youth came to me. And then I was very young, and I came to the house with all the energy. Now I've grown old, because for 70 years adding to my age, I've grown very old. But I still have energy to go. If the people of Whole West decided that they want to allow me to run, I will ask God about it first. I depend absolutely on God. If God says, yes, Emmanuel, go ahead, and not finish your work in Parliament, I'll go.
What if God says, vice presidents? What if God says,
hooray, or the president?
You would take it in your stride. You wouldn't shy away from that calling.
The Bible says that it's not he that runneth or he that willeth, but it's God that shows mercy. So our path are not, determined by ourselves, unless you want to put yourself out there. If it's the will of God for you to go, He will make a way for it. He makes a way where there is no way. He will make a way for even in the wilderness.
And as far as the resetting agenda is concerned, what are you most looking forward to as a government in 2025?
For me,
yes,
my major priority is jobs for our youth. Look, I get tired when I get to the village and then people are asking me for coins. They're not doing it because they think you have money. They're doing it because they don't have job.
Desperation.
So if we can provide jobs for our youth, if we can set our 24-hour agenda in place, my sister, and get our teeming youth working, then for me, the resetting agenda has worked. Job first. For me, job. Before I even come to the economy, before I come to state institutions like ECG and Co. to be reset, let's provide job for our people. My fear, and I'll give you a typical example. When Captain Traore came to Ghana for the inauguration, you saw what happened. Did you see what happened?
I know there was an excitement that greeted his entry into the country.
This is a military dictator. Ghanaians have decided that we'll go into constitutional rule, democratic rule.
That's right.
And so we uphold it and we cherish it. In fact, the whole sub-region, we are revered as, we are seen as the beacon of hope for the continent. Then a military dictator will come into the country and the youth cheers him on. All because of the things we heard he's doing. And he's doing very well. If the reports are right, then it means he's doing very well. Ghanaians have given us, NDC, my party, the same power to third majority in parliament. Maybe just one.
I was going to say 1 seat shy.
Okay, so we have independent candidates
who align with
us. So we are more than majority.
Right.
Do you know how two-third majority can do? Two-third majority is absolute majority. You can even remove a president. You can change the constitution. You can do whatever you want to do. Ghanaians gave it to us because they know that it's only NDC that will have this power in their hand that will not misbehave. So my caution to my colleagues is that let us not disappoint the good people of this nation. I say it everywhere I go. I'm not shy. The people have reposed this power into our hands. Let us not disappoint them. Otherwise, what will happen will be different. I mean, if people can clap for a military dictator in Ghana, then only God knows what will happen if we disappoint them. So let us not disappoint them at all. You know, voting for us was, people did not meet and say, okay, we are going to vote for NDC. When they were voting for me in my whole West, and people were voting in Swedru, and people were voting in Ashanti region that we got 7 seats. Was it planned? It wasn't planned. It was direct intervention of God. And so let us not disappoint God. Let us not disappoint the good people of this nation. Let us do right for all manner of people. Let's make sure that we bring people up and then give job and create, environment where people will feel that they are Ghanaians, so that people will not cry like, we want to be like the other people.
And Honorable, before I let you go as well, there's some thoughts from some of your youthful supporters that they want to see some action quite quickly when it comes to things concerning prosecutions, because we hear about monies being lost to corruption here and there. Do you also get that kind of heat coming your way from young supporters who want to know what is going on?
Sometimes when I post something, the people want to say, "I want to see action. We want to see action." It is because of the promise that we gave. Oral. We said when we come, we're going to prosecute them. But let's not forget that prosecution is a process. And I'm happy we've done the first bit by getting information. Those information have been given to the the Attorney General, Minister of Justice, and he's going through the process. We don't live in a jungle. We live by rule of law, and therefore the rule of law must take its own course. And so I want to plead with our people that we are doing our best. They will begin to see prosecution. They will begin to see people, I'm not only interested in prosecution. We must retrieve what belongs to us. For me, I will be the most happiest person when people they are not only in jail, but we've taken what belongs to the state that was wrongfully taken by law, and then you can jail them. Even if you retrieve everything. Look, Ghana should not be where we are today, oh, my sister. We are rich.
Yes, it's Ikaso.
Hey, bre.
Honorable, it's been quite a delightful morning. Thank you so much for spending time with us and for giving us some much needed insight into what it is you're doing in Parliament, your thoughts on Parliament, and the way you set out the ECG matters for us. Very clear for all of us to understand. I hope you have a wonderful day. A busy day ahead?
Sorry?
Do you have a busy day ahead?
Yes. Currently, we are vetting I'm a member of the committee that is vetting municipal chief and metropolitan chief executives for the various. We've done close to about 14, and we are left with 2. Currently, we are on Eastern region, and then God willing, next week we'll start the Greater Accra, the almighty Greater Accra region. That will be the last region. And so, when we get into that room, we stay from 10 o'clock till sometimes as late as 10 p.m. in the night, just vetting people who have put themselves forth to become municipal chief executives for our various districts.
Honorable says the reset agenda is well and truly on. We've been speaking this morning with Honorable Emmanuel Kwasi Bedzrah, Member of Parliament for Ho West, and he shared some very insightful nuggets with us this morning. As you know, our conversations live on the internet. You can play back this conversation on YouTube, also on our Facebook pages. It's certainly been riveting. This is still 3FM Sunrise on 3FM 92.7. Don't go too far. Honorable, I want to end today's show with your favorite song. What is that song that you've been repeating back to back?
You know, I'm a Christian, so all my songs are, there's this song that I used to sing by this lady, Nigerian, Sunny. Is it Sunny?
A Nigerian lady.
A Nigerian lady who I played every morning, and it's so beautiful that every morning I sing it. She's called Samisola.
Aha. She sings gospel.
Yeah, gospel. All her songs are
Samisola.
Samisola.
We're not too familiar with her, but we'll do some research and add it to the mix.
So just play Better Revival, the epic chorus music for me.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
That's a lot of ginger for the day. Honorable, thank you so much for your time this morning. This has been most delightful. Again, do follow us on the socials, on X, on Facebook, also on Instagram. We are at 3FM 92.7.